He agreed to marry a woman he'd never seen, just to shut his parents up. Rumor had it she was plain, quiet, and desperate. But when she walked down the aisle, she wasn't what he expected. Not even close. Now Michael Tyrone, a millionaire control freak, is stuck living with a witty, stubborn firecracker of a wife who rearranges his books, burns his toast, and challenges everything he thought he wanted. Please subscribe and leave a like for us. It means the world to us. Also share this video to your friends and loved ones and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future videos from us. Thank you as you do so. Sit back and relax as we dive into the story. The last thing Michael Tyrone expected on a Monday morning was to be summoned by his parents like a teenager being called to the principal's office. He arrived at the family estate in Kensington in a charcoal suit, his watch gleaming under the autumn sun. His mother had left exactly 2 voicemails, short, clipped, and formal. That was how he knew it was serious. Mrs. Lillian Tyrone didn't raise her voice unless it was over social class or badly ironed napkins. As he entered the sunroom, where sunlight filtered in through floor-to-ceiling windows and tea was served with uncomfortable expectations, he saw them. His father, seated like a stoic board member, and his mother with her lips pursed so tight it looked like she was trying not to scream. "Sit, Michael," she said, motioning to the velvet armchair like it was an electric chair. He raised an eyebrow but obeyed, unbuttoning his suit jacket with the calm of a man who had negotiated billion-dollar deals and fired CEOs without blinking. "What's this about?" he asked, already tired. His father cleared his throat. "It's about your future." Michael blinked. "Is this a will reading? Am I dying?" "No," his mother snapped. "You're getting married." Silence. The kind that followed an earthquake. Michael leaned forward. "Come again." "Married," his father said, adjusting his glasses. "To Nicole Williams. You remember the Williams. Old family friends. Her parents are good people." Michael laughed. Because surely this was a joke. "What is this? A plot twist from an Indian soap opera?" "We made a promise," his mother said quietly. "Years ago. To their parents. We agreed that one day, our children would marry." "That sounds like something out of The Godfather," Michael muttered, rubbing his temple. "They're respectable," his father said. "Her father is a retired diplomat. Her mother's on the board of 3 charities." "And what about her?" "This bride of mine?" "Nicole," his mother said. She's different." Michael narrowed his eyes. "That sounds like code for something. What are you not saying?" "There have been rumors," his father said after a beat. "Silly things. That she's quiet, bookish, perhaps not very social. But you're not marrying her for personality." "Wow, that's romantic," Michael said dryly. "You're marrying her because we said you would," his mother said. "And because you've already had your time gallivanting around. It's time you settled down. This family needs stability." Michael stood, pacing now. "You want me to marry a woman I've never met because of a promise you made over 20 years ago? Are we medieval royalty?" His mother's gaze turned sharp. "You owe us this, Michael. You owe this family." The guilt slid in like cold wind under a door. He thought of everything they'd done for him. How his father had invested the seed money for his startup, how his mother had defended him during his rebellious 20s, when he dropped out of university and nearly wrecked their name. This wasn't about tradition. This was leverage. "And if I say no?" he asked. His father didn't flinch. "You won't." A long pause. Michael exhaled. "Fine. I'll marry her. But don't expect me to fall in love." His mother smiled, victorious. "Love can come later. For now, we just need the ceremony." The weeks that followed were a blur of preparations, none of which Michael participated in. He let his mother handle the wedding planning, florals, guest lists, venues. He was too busy retreating into work, making himself forget that he was about to marry a complete stranger. He didn't ask to meet Nicole. Part of him didn't want to. The rumors were vague but unkind, whispers about her being plain, unremarkable, too old-fashioned. No recent photos existed online. No social media. It was almost impressive how invisible she was. Michael figured it was better not to know. Better to keep expectations low. That way, disappointment couldn't touch him. This was a transaction. A clean, strategic move to check the marriage box and get his parents off his back. Love was never part of the plan. Wedding day. The grand estate in Hampshire was drenched in autumn sunlight. Vines crawled over marble pillars, violins played in the distance, and guests sipped champagne under a white canopy that cost more than most cars. Michael stood at the altar, bored, handsome, and emotionally disconnected. His tailored tux fit perfectly, his cufflinks gleamed. He didn't care for the speeches or the music. He just wanted to get it over with. Then the music shifted, and she walked in. At first, he thought it was a bridesmaid. She was too striking, too confident. Her lips held a half-smile, mocking perhaps, or merely amused. Then he realized this was her. This was Nicole, his bride. Time paused. Michael stood there, blinking like an idiot. This wasn't the shy, awkward woman he had imagined. This wasn't someone desperate to be married off. She walked like she owned the aisle, like she had better things to do than marry him. And in that moment, Michael Tyrone, who had planned for everything, calculated every step of his life, was completely, utterly unprepared. He turned to his best man and whispered, "What the hell just happened?" The best man chuckled. "Looks like you lost the bet, mate." The ceremony proceeded like a perfectly rehearsed ballet, and Michael missed every step of it. He stood beside Nicole, still stunned, his right hand slightly trembling, not from nerves, but from confusion. This wasn't what he had prepared himself for. Not even close. Nicole was not some fragile, hunched-over, plain-faced wallflower. She was composed, regal. Her gaze never once flinched under the weight of the crowd. She didn't giggle nervously, didn't look lost, didn't glance at him like he was her savior or her prize. Instead, she carried herself like she was doing the marrying, not being married off. And that smirk, God, that smirk she gave him as she stood across from him. Just a flicker at the corner of her lips. It wasn't flirtatious, not quite. More like she was in on some joke he hadn't caught yet. Michael murmured the words he had practiced. Nicole responded clearly, her voice calm, precise, and unaffected. Her eyes never left his. "Does she even blink?" he muttered under his breath. She heard him. Of course she did. She blinked once. Slowly. Deliberately. He nearly laughed. The ballroom was a symphony of chandeliers and marigolds, white roses tucked into golden vases, and distant sounds of a sitar blending with light jazz. The guests were drunk on champagne, compliments, and gossip. "Have you seen the bride?" whispered a woman in blue sequins. "I heard she was supposed to be ugly," another finished. "I know, but she's stunning. Did you see the groom's face?" Michael caught snippets as he wandered through the crowd, smiling politely, shaking hands. His mind was spinning. She had become the center of attention, like a gravitational force. People clustered around her, not just to gawk, but to engage. And she didn't try to charm them. She didn't need to. She answered questions with wit, accepted compliments with a soft thank you, and shot down flattery with ease. Michael finally approached her after dodging 3 aunties who tried to match him with their daughters, unaware he was already the groom. He found Nicole near the outdoor terrace, away from the noise, nursing a glass of water with lemon. "Enjoying your wedding?" he asked, stepping beside her. She didn't look at him. "I think the samosas were a bit overcooked." He raised an eyebrow. "Of all the things to critique." "I have priorities," she replied. "Samosas rank higher than forced smiles." "Is that what that was earlier? A forced smile?" "No," she said, glancing at him now. "That was for my amusement. Your face was memorable." He smiled. "You surprised me." "I know. And the rumors?" "Ah." She took a sip. "Small towns. Big mouths. My parents tried to find a match 3 times. The first 2 suitors didn't like that I read too much. The third thought I was argumentative." "Were you?" I corrected his grammar. In front of his mother. He chuckled. "You're brave." "No," she said. "I just hate stupidity." Silence settled between them. Comfortable, oddly. "You're not what I expected," he admitted. She turned fully to face him. "Neither are you." He leaned on the railing beside her, loosening the collar of his wedding sherwani. So, we're married. Legally, yes. Emotionally, I'm still warming up to the idea. Fair. She studied him, then said, I know why you agreed. He looked at her, wary. Oh, family pressure. Guilt. Obligation. Maybe a little curiosity. But not love. Not even affection. And you, he asked. She gave a sly smile. Honestly, I wanted to get my parents off my back. They've been treating me like expired milk on a shelf. Figured I'd marry someone too busy to actually care. He barked a surprised laugh. That's a hell of a strategy. Well, it worked, she said, sipping her water again. Didn't it? Another pause. This one longer. More loaded. She stood straighter, suddenly formal. Look, Michael. We don't owe each other affection. But we do owe each other respect. I'm not here to play the obedient wife. And I'm not here to disrupt your life either. Let's just be civil. Michael studied her for a moment. Then nodded. Civil I can do. They shook hands like business partners striking a deal. But even as their palms parted, something lingered, curiosity perhaps. A strange flicker of something that felt too dangerous to name. The penthouse apartment overlooked the London skyline, all glittering lights and silent confidence. Michael entered first, tossing his keys into a bowl on the console table. This is sleek, Nicole said as she stepped in behind him, scanning the minimalist aesthetic, all clean lines and neutral tones. A bit sterile. Feels like a very expensive hospital. It's functional, he replied, tugging off his tie. So's a jail cell. He smirked. Do you always comment on people's interior design choices? Only when they beg for personality. She wandered toward the bookshelf, scanning the spines. Finance. Strategy. Psychology. More finance. Do you read any fiction? She asked. Occasionally. Liar. He shrugged. Didn't have time growing up. She pulled one of his psychology books and flipped through it casually. Maybe that's why you have trouble with emotions. He raised an eyebrow. You've known me 5 hours. I'm very efficient. He blinked. Then laughed genuinely. Okay, that was a good one. Nicole turned, her earrings catching the soft light. I'll take the guest room. You don't want the master? I don't want assumptions. He held up his hands. Fair enough. As she walked down the hallway, she called over her shoulder. Oh, and Michael? Yeah. Tomorrow morning, I make my own coffee. Don't touch it. Don't talk before 9 a.m. And don't use that smug CEO voice on me. He chuckled. I'll do my best. She disappeared into the guest room, shutting the door with a quiet click. Michael stood alone in his living room, still dressed in wedding attire, hands in his pockets. His parents had wanted him to marry a docile, obedient bride. Instead, he got Nicole Williams. And for the first time in years, Michael Tyrone didn't know what was coming next. The next morning, Michael Tyrone woke up to the smell of burnt toast and a Bollywood song playing at an ungodly volume. At first, he thought it was a dream. A strange, culturally confusing dream. But no. He stepped out of his room in pajama pants, barefoot, eyes half closed, only to find Nicole in his designer kitchen, wearing a faded NASA t-shirt, flannel pajama pants, and pink socks with tiny cartoon avocados. She was dancing. Not gracefully. No, she was aggressively shimmying while flipping something in a frying pan that was dangerously close to combustion. Aya aya main hun pyar tera aya, she sang along, dramatically pointing a spatula like a microphone, completely unaware or unbothered by his presence. Michael leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching with a mix of confusion and horror. Is this a possession or an exorcism? Nicole glanced at him, unfazed. Morning, sunshine. He pointed at the frying pan. Is that food? Technically, she said, turning off the stove. You want some? He peered over her shoulder. The toast was blackened. The eggs were overcooked. The bacon looked like it had been forgotten during a global crisis. I'll pass. She shrugged. Your loss. She plated the mess and plopped down at the breakfast bar, scarfing it down like a soldier back from war. Michael poured himself a cup of espresso from his automatic machine, watching her like one might watch a raccoon attempt algebra. You know, he said, taking a sip, you're in a multi-million-pound penthouse. You could at least pretend to be civilized. Nicole licked ketchup off her finger and said, I'm not here to perform, Michael. And the music? That's Lata Mangeshkar. A legend. You're welcome. He shook his head, amused despite himself. She chewed thoughtfully for a moment, then said, You didn't sleep well. Is this where you tell me my aura's out of balance? No. It's where I point out the dark circles under your eyes. You looked like a raccoon in a tux last night. Still cute, but concerning. Michael gave a short laugh and sipped his coffee. Is this how it's going to be? Chaos every morning. Nicole grinned. I'm very consistent. Later that week, Michael tried to maintain his schedule. Early meetings, boardroom calls, investment pitches. But Nicole's presence began creeping into the sterile order of his life like vines on polished marble. She refused to stay quiet. She questioned everything. Why do you have a separate guest bathroom for dogs? She asked one night. I don't even own a dog, he admitted. Then your decorator has too much power. Another time, she rearranged his books by genre, not by author or height, which infuriated him. He liked symmetry. She liked logic. They argued over where the spoons belonged. Over thermostat settings. Over whether pineapple belonged on pizza. She said yes, he said war crime. And yet, every time he got frustrated, she managed to disarm him with humor or unexpected vulnerability. One rainy evening, they were watching a movie. Well, she was watching a movie. Michael was working on his laptop. I used to want to be a volcanologist, she said out of nowhere. Michael blinked. What? Yup. Thought volcanoes were cool. Then I realized they kill people. Not as fun. He looked over. She was curled under a blanket, munching popcorn from a giant bowl that she'd refused to share. I thought you wanted to be a travel writer. I do. But 10-year-old me thought she'd be Lara Croft without the weird CGI body. He smiled, then shut his laptop. Why travel writing? She paused. Because I like stories. People. Details. The way airports smell at 2 a.m. The way strangers laugh differently in every culture. Michael studied her face, unfiltered, raw. For a second, she wasn't sarcastic or stubborn. She was just honest. Sounds lonely, he said. It's not, she replied. Being with people who drain you, that's lonely. Being alone is peaceful. Are you peaceful now? Nicole met his eyes. Not even close. He laughed softly. Same. They sat in silence, the sound of rain tapping gently against the windows. The next morning, Michael entered the kitchen to find a post-it note stuck to the espresso machine. You drink black coffee. I drink joy. Don't judge. N. Next to it, a new jar of fancy imported cocoa powder. She'd taken the liberty of ordering it using his Amazon Prime. Joy, he muttered, shaking his head but smiling. It started with a candle. Nicole had bought a massive lavender and vanilla candle and placed it in the living room. Michael hated scented candles. Why does my apartment smell like a bakery ran through a meadow? He asked, gagging. Nicole looked up from her laptop. It's calming. It's nauseating. It's staying. He picked it up and moved it to the guest bathroom. She moved it back. He hit it. She lit 3 more. He nearly called the fire department. By Saturday, they'd reached a truce. 1 candle unlit, decorative only. It was a stupid battle, but the tension that followed wasn't. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. Not because of work. Not because of candle fumes. But because when he walked past her room, he heard her laugh while FaceTiming someone. It wasn't her sarcastic, biting laugh. It was warm. Real. And he wanted to hear that laugh directed at him. He found her on the balcony, feet up on the railing, hair down, wearing one of his sweatshirts like it was hers. You always sneak out here at night, he asked. Nicole didn't look at him. Only when I need air. What are you thinking about? She hesitated. That we're stuck. In something we didn't choose. And somehow we're making it work. Which is weird. He nodded. You drive me insane. You breathe too loud. They both smiled. I don't know how we got here, she said, but it's not terrible. Michael looked out at the skyline, then down at her. No, he said softly. It's not. And for the first time since they signed those marriage papers, neither of them wanted to run. Michael Tyrone was a man who lived by precision. He liked his towels folded a certain way. His email inbox was always at 0. His calendar was color-coded, with alarms for alarms. He enjoyed symmetry, silence, and not being emotionally ambushed before breakfast. Nicole was none of those things. She was chaos. Controlled, deliberate, beautiful chaos. And now that the polite post-wedding honeymoon phase had passed, all bets were off. Michael emerged from his bedroom to the smell of cardamom, cinnamon, and something he couldn't name but suspected was reckless ambition. The living room looked like a crime scene. Spices were spread across the kitchen island. A pot was boiling aggressively on the stove. Nicole was wearing a hoodie that said "Sarcasm is my love language," and humming a bongo beat while texting with one hand and stirring with the other. "I told you I'd order breakfast," Michael said, cautiously entering the kitchen. "I don't need breakfast," she said, not turning. "I need emotional support and masala chai. You're 042 this morning." He raised both eyebrows. "Emotional support? I just remembered I married a man who alphabetizes his cereal. It's efficient. It's criminal." Michael opened the fridge and paused. "Where are my protein shakes?" "Behind the pickles. I had to move things to fit my coconut yogurt." "You bought 6 tubs." "I have commitment issues. Except with yogurt." Michael closed the fridge, took a deep breath, and decided today was not the day to argue over fermented dairy. It started innocently enough. Michael came home from a meeting and noticed his bookshelf had been rearranged. Gone was the perfect symmetry. Gone was the alphabetical order. In its place was a rainbow. Nicole had color-coded the books. His investment guides sat beside romance novels because their spines were both blue. Blue. Not even the same genre or topic or author, just blue. He stared at the shelf like someone had punched his soul. "Nicole," he called out, his voice climbing an octave. She entered the room holding a bowl of popcorn and wearing noise-canceling headphones around her neck. "Yes, husband. What is this?" She followed his eyes and smirked. "A visual masterpiece." "It's wrong. It's beautiful. And besides, who's actually going to read aggressive capital gains theory?" "I do. I wrote notes in the margins." Nicole blinked. "You annotate your finance books?" "Yes. That's so deeply tragic." He groaned. "You can't just come in and disrupt my system." "Well, your system was making me itch." They stood there, glaring at each other across the battlefield of clashing ideologies. The tension built, and then Nicole tossed a piece of popcorn at his forehead. He blinked. She grinned. He sighed. That weekend, Michael was invited to a black tie gala. Normally, he'd bring a date to keep up appearances. This time, he had a wife. A very unpredictable wife. He expected resistance. Instead, Nicole emerged from her room in a navy blue gown that was sleek, elegant, and devastatingly simple. Her hair was swept up, her makeup sharp but minimal. She looked like a queen who didn't need a crown to rule. Michael forgot to speak. She looked at him and said, "If you're going to stare, offer a compliment or blink." "You're scaring me." He cleared his throat. "You look stunning." She gave a dramatic gasp. "A genuine compliment? Be still, my chaotic heart." At the gala, people stared, not just because they made a striking couple, but because of their banter. He whispered sarcastic remarks between speeches. She mimicked the violinist behind a wine glass. It was ridiculous and perfect, and for a few hours it felt almost easy. Like they weren't two strangers who married for their parents. Like they were falling into something real. Later that night, back home, they sat on the balcony in silence. London stretched out below, glittering vast. Michael passed her a blanket. "You're always cold." Nicole took it, then glanced at him. "And you're always pretending not to notice." He shrugged. "You're hard to ignore." She smiled. "You're not as boring as I thought you'd be." "Thanks. You're welcome." They didn't hold hands. They didn't kiss. They didn't need to. But something unspoken passed between them, something like understanding. Like acceptance. And maybe, just maybe, the clash between them wasn't destruction. It was chemistry. For a few precious weeks, the Tyrone penthouse transformed from a showroom into a home. Nicole's laughter became background noise to Michael's mornings. Her scent lingered in the kitchen after she left for her writing cafe. Her messes spilled from one room into another. Sketches, notebooks, half-read novels, and Michael, to his own horror, stopped minding. In fact, he started liking it. Their lives, once distinct like parallel tracks, had begun to curve toward each other. But curves bring corners, and corners hide things. It was a Tuesday. Michael stepped out of the shower to find Nicole sitting cross-legged on their shared bed, though still unofficially hers. Scrolling through her phone, her face unusually tense. He noticed it immediately. Her usual morning energy, the chaotic playlist, sarcastic commentary, loud opinions about cereal, was muted. "What's wrong?" he asked, towel-drying his hair. She glanced at him, then looked away. "My parents called." Michael raised a brow. "And they're coming next week. Uninvited. My mother wants to see how the arrangement is going." He sat down on the edge of the bed, frowning. "They don't trust you? They don't understand me," she said. "They never did. I don't fit their mold." Michael hesitated. "You want me to say something? To call them?" "No," she sighed. "They'd think you've been corrupted." Michael paused. "Is there more to this than you're saying?" Her jaw tightened. She slid off the bed and walked to the window. He waited. She didn't answer. The intercom buzzed around 6:15 p.m. Michael was in the kitchen, cooking something that passed for risotto. Nicole was curled up with a book she wouldn't admit was a mystery romance. He hit the button. "Yes." A familiar voice chirped. "Guess who's in London?" Michael froze. "No, it couldn't be. I'm downstairs. Buzz me in, Em. I brought wine." Nicole looked up. "Who was that?" Michael's stomach sank. "Madeline." Her brows pulled together. "Madeline. As in?" "My ex." 10 minutes later. Madeline Carter swept into the penthouse like she still owned it. Tall, caramel-skinned, and perfectly tailored in her designer coat, she kissed Michael on both cheeks like no time had passed. "You look leaner," she said. "Marriage suits you." Michael took a deep breath. "Mads, this is Nicole. My wife." Nicole stood, offering a cool smile and a hand. "Hi." Madeline ignored the hand. "Oh, so you're the mystery woman. I must admit, I didn't think you'd actually go through with it." Nicole's smile sharpened. "Neither did I. But here we are." The temperature in the room dropped by 10 degrees. Michael cleared his throat. "Can I get you a drink, Mads?" "Oh, I brought wine." She handed him a bottle. "The kind you used to like. Remember our Tuscany trip?" Nicole turned to the kitchen. "I think I'll open something from our collection." That wasn't subtle. Madeline raised an eyebrow. "You two seem comfortable." "Give it a month," Nicole replied, popping a cork like a seasoned bartender. "We might even get matching tattoos." Madeline laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I didn't realize sarcasm was your love language, Nicole." Nicole poured wine into a crystal glass. "Only when sincerity's wasted." Michael wanted to disappear. As soon as Madeline left, the silence was deafening. Nicole stood by the sink, swirling the wine in her glass. She wasn't looking at him. "She still has feelings for you," she said. Michael rubbed the back of his neck. "We broke up 2 years ago. But she still thinks she has a claim." "She doesn't." Nicole looked at him, finally. "Then why didn't you tell me she might show up?" "I didn't know she would." "That's not the point." Her voice dropped. "You flinched when you saw her. You were nervous. I've never seen you nervous." "Not with me." He exhaled. "Because I knew she'd say something stupid." "And she did." "Did you love her?" "Yes," he admitted. "Once." "Do you still?" "No." "Then why do I feel like I'm the outsider in my own apartment?" Michael stepped closer. "Because she got in your head." "No, Michael. She just confirmed what I've been wondering since day one." He froze. "Which is? Why did they want me married off so badly? Why did you say yes without even meeting me?" Her voice cracked slightly. "I've been wondering what was so wrong with me that my own parents were desperate to get rid of me." Michael's chest tightened. I assumed it was a looks thing, she said, laughing bitterly. That's what people whispered. But now I realize it wasn't my face. It was me. She turned away, hugging her arms. I was too loud, too stubborn, too curious, too everything. And they were tired of trying to fix me. He didn't know what to say, so he didn't say anything. And that she seemed to notice. She nodded slowly, then whispered, "Good night, Michael," and walked away. They didn't speak over breakfast. She left a note. Went to write, "Don't wait up." He stared at the words like they were a breakup letter. That evening, Michael paced the study, his phone buzzing with emails. He ignored them. Instead, he went to the bookshelf, pulled out a novel Nicole had once said changed her life, The Namesake. He flipped it open. In the margins, scribbled in soft pencil. What if home isn't a place or a person? What if it's just the first time you stop hiding? He stood there for a long time. Then he walked to his laptop, logged in, and did something unexpected. He found one of Nicole's unpublished travel blogs, the ones she'd written but never posted. He formatted it, added a byline, and submitted it anonymously to a major travel journal he had connections with. The same one that once rejected her. Later that night, she came home past midnight, drenched from unexpected rain. Michael handed her a towel without a word. She took it. Then he said quietly, "You weren't too much. You were too alive for people who were half asleep." She looked at him unsure. He continued, "And I didn't marry you because I had to. I stayed married to you because I wanted to." For a moment, she didn't respond. Then she said, "You still breathe too loud." "Yeah, I know." But her voice was softer now. And though she walked past him, she didn't close her door all the way that night. The apartment was quieter now. Not silent. Nicole was still around, still filling the space with the clink of teacups and the rustle of turning pages. But the air had changed. The banter had dulled. The teasing had stopped. Michael hated it. He hadn't realized how much of her noise had become his comfort until she withdrew it. The morning after, Nicole sat at the kitchen counter in a loose sweater, typing furiously into her laptop. Her brow was furrowed, her tea untouched. Michael walked in and paused, hoping she'd glance up. She didn't. "I made eggs," he said. She kept typing. "They're the good kind. Not the rubber bricks I made last week." A pause. Then, without looking, "I'm not hungry." He deflated a little. "Okay." He sat across from her, watching her fingers fly over the keyboard. She had that look, the one she wore when her brain was buzzing, chasing a story. He used to love watching her work. Now he felt like an intruder. And yet, he didn't leave. She finally looked up, and their eyes met. "I submitted one of your blogs," he said. Her brows lifted. "What?" "I formatted it, cleaned up the layout, sent it to a travel magazine." "Without telling me?" "I wanted it to be a surprise," he said. "Not because I think you need help, but because you're good, really good, and the world should see it." She stared at him, unreadable. "Which one?" "The Istanbul one. The one about the little boy at the spice market." Her voice dropped. "That one's personal." "I know. That's why it'll resonate." She looked down at her tea, then back at him. "No man has ever done something like that for me," she said softly. Michael shrugged. "Guess you married up." She cracked a smile. The first in days. Nicole received the email just after lunch. Her piece had been accepted. Featured, in fact. The editor praised her voice. Called her storytelling cinematic, raw, and transportive. She read the email twice. Then a third time. Then she sat on the floor and cried. Not because she was sad, but because someone had believed in her enough to go behind her back in the right way. That night, they sat on the floor of the living room, wine glasses in hand, surrounded by empty takeout boxes. Michael had vetoed candles. Nicole had lit one out of spite. It was their version of peace. "I got the email," she said, staring into her glass. "I know," he replied. "I cried." He smiled. "I know." They sat in silence for a moment. Then she added, "You're not the man I thought you were. Let me guess. You expected a cold, emotionally stunted CEO with commitment issues." Yeah, she said. And I got someone who annotates cookbooks and secretly remembers all my favorite words. He chuckled. You thought I was boring. I still do, she said, nudging him with her shoulder. But you're growing on me. Something changed after that night. Nothing grand. No passionate declarations. No dramatic kisses in the rain. But Michael started lingering a little longer when she walked into a room. Nicole started leaving post-it notes on his mirror, sometimes jokes, sometimes quotes from books she thought he'd like. They cooked together. Terribly. They watched movies and argued about plot holes. She learned he hated raisins with a passion. He learned she couldn't sleep unless a fan was running. They began orbiting each other more closely, no longer out of obligation, but gravity. Michael caught himself watching her laugh with the doorman downstairs. Her hands moved expressively, her eyes alight with something unfiltered and warm. She wasn't trying to charm. She just was. And God help him, he liked her. Not because she was beautiful, though she was. Not because she was clever, though that too. But because she was alive in a way no one else around him seemed to be. She didn't just live in his world. She knocked over the walls, threw glitter on the floors, and dared him to dance in the mess. And the strangest part? He didn't want to clean it up. It had been nearly a year since their wedding. And somehow, in that time, Michael and Nicole had transformed their contract marriage into a living, breathing partnership that neither of them had seen coming. But it didn't happen with violins swelling or doves flying across a sunset. It happened slowly, like a warm drink on a cold morning, like two people realizing they had stopped bracing for the fall because they were already flying. Michael had planned everything. He wasn't good with feelings or grand gestures. But this time he wanted to get it right. He told her to be ready at 7 p.m. She asked what to wear. He said, anything but sarcasm. So at exactly 7:02, she walked out of their room in a burgundy dress, her hair in soft waves, her lips a daring shade of red. Michael, waiting in a black blazer with no tie, just stared. You're supposed to say something, she said, amused. I forgot all my words. She smiled. I'll allow it. He didn't take her to a fancy hotel, or a yacht, or some over-the-top venue. Instead, he took her to the bookstore where she had once taken shelter from the rain on their second week of marriage, a quiet, hidden spot tucked away behind a creperie in Notting Hill. Inside, a small table for two was set in the poetry aisle. Fairy lights wrapped around the shelves. A candle flickered beside a plate of her favorite lemon tarts. And on the table, a framed photo. Not a posed one. It was a candid Michael had taken months ago. Nicole mid-yell, hair flying, hands gesturing wildly during an argument about whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie. The caption under it read, The day I realized I married the love of my life. She laughed when she saw it, then teared up, then punched his arm. You're such a sap. You love it. I tolerate it. He handed her a small box. Inside, a delicate gold bracelet engraved with a quote from her first published article. She held it for a long moment, then said, I don't need grand gestures. I know, he said, but I needed one. For you. They danced in the aisle. No music. No audience. Just the sound of their laughter and the soft hum of an old ceiling fan. You know, Nicole said, resting her head against his chest, this wasn't supposed to happen. Michael nodded. You were supposed to be an obligation. And you were supposed to be a dull spreadsheet with legs. He smirked. And now, you're a surprisingly decent human with fantastic shoulders and mild control issues. I'll take it. They held each other a little tighter. The apartment was still a mess. Books stacked everywhere. Candles half-burned. A pile of laundry they kept pretending not to see. But now it was their mess. She tossed her heels into the corner, curled up on the couch, and patted the space beside her. Michael joined her. They sat in silence, sipping wine. Then Nicole said, without warning, Do you think love sneaks up on people, or do we just stop running at some point? He thought for a long time, then answered, I think we spend so much time protecting ourselves that when someone sees through the armor, it feels like an ambush. She smiled. So I ambushed you? Completely. You're welcome. That night, as they got ready for bed, Michael found a new post-it note on his mirror. He picked it up, reading it twice. I never wanted perfect. I just wanted someone who could dance in the mess with me. Underneath, a scribbled PS. And maybe do the dishes sometimes, you overgrown spreadsheet. He laughed out loud, then left his own note in return. Deal. But only if you keep making me laugh until I'm 90. They never planned to fall in love. They never meant for any of it to happen. But somehow, through late-night arguments, badly cooked breakfasts, candle wars, unsolicited exes, and quiet notes on mirrors, they built something beautiful. Messy. Real. And entirely theirs.
Thank you so much for listening to this story at Folklore Chronicles-k stories. And please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly click on the subscribe button, turn on the notification so when I post more stories like this, you'll be the first to get them. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate your support and I do not take it for granted at all. Until I see you in my next video. Bye.